Hey guys, Private Jack here. And in this particular session, what we're going to talk about is textures versus materials. There's a huge misunderstanding out there as to what a material and what a texture is. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at the difference between the two. And we're going to talk about the 32 material limit that valve models have. So basically I've got a MMD doll here that I want to port to Source Filmmaker. Okay. Problem with this particular model is if I go into my Scenes tab and select the model, what I'm going to find is that this particular model has 37 materials. Valve models are restricted to 32. Okay, you can't have any more than 32 materials on a model. However, this model in these 37 materials is only using 14 textures. And a lot of these textures are what are known as toon shaders. And so that even reduces the texture count down lower than 14. What we have to do is we have to find out why this model is using 37 materials to display 14 textures. Okay, so what is a material and what is a texture? Well, in Blender, a material, let's go it this way. A texture is an image file. Okay, basically I've got an image file here in GIMP. And this is the Sniper Red texture. Okay, it is a diffused texture. Now, textures are image files. They're PNG files, they're JPEGs, they're DDS files, they're TAGA files, things like that. Okay, they are not to be confused with materials. A single texture can be called by more than one material. Okay, the material is actually calling this texture and telling the game engine how to display the texture on the model. Okay, so it can be a texture can be a diffuse, it can be a bump map, it can be some sort of a mask, it can be a detail texture, and this is an animated detail texture. It can be a light warp, it can be a fawn mask, it can be an environmental mask, anything, but a texture is an image file. Okay, so what are materials then? Materials is the tool that is used to tell the game engine how to display the texture that it calls. Okay, in the case of a valve model, a material is the VMT file, and here's the VMT file for that particular Sniper Red texture. Inside this material file, we're going to find the shader that it uses, what texture it's being called as the diffused or the base texture, whether or not it's got a normal map and the texture that it's calling to for that normal map. Here's that detailed fire slow tiled that I showed you in GIMP. Okay, this is a detail texture. It explains, it tells the game engine how to display that scale, the detail, what scale to use, the blending factors, the blending modes. Here's the light warp texture that I talked about. Okay, and basically it tells it whether or not it's got Fong, what Fong mask to use. It explains how to do a cloak. Okay, so the material file in a valve model is a text file. And you can only have 32 of these VMTs on a model. If you look at the spy is very hard to work with if you're going to add more stuff to him, different textures or whatnot else. The spy already uses up 29 different materials. And most of those are in the masks that he wears. Okay, so basically you're pretty limited if you're going to work with the spy. He's already used up 29 of 32 materials. So now we're coming back here to Blender. I've got 37 materials. I got 14 textures being used. I need to thin down my materials. And the way that I do this is, first off, is I join all the objects of the model that I'm going to be working with into one single object. What that will do is it will combine all the textures or all the materials that are being used into one place that I can access. Okay, I'm not floating through 5 different objects to find out what materials are being called on the model. Okay, from here, what I have to do is, looking at this thing is already laid out and the textures are already assigned. I can see just by looking at the material balls here that there are materials that are using the same textures. Okay, so the nails, the body, the neck are using one texture. I've got 10, 11 different, 12 different face textures that are using the face texture. I've got 2 tops that are using the same top. Shoes and skirts are using the same texture, so are the socks, and probably the arms and the cape. The katanas might be calling their own texture, but we can look at that in a minute. But the hair here has 2 different materials that it's calling, okay? And the reason why there might be 2 different materials is one material is using a different toon shader, or it may be set up differently. If we come down here and we have a look at the actual way that it's being set up, okay? It might be a transparency, it might not have a transparency. If I click on between the 2 hair textures, see if anything changes. Nothing changed here. So let's go and have a look at the textures. In the textures, what we're going to do here now is up here in, we're going to change this to our property thing again and go back over to our materials. Okay, so here is the hair front, and here's the hair front 1. Nothing changed there. Nothing changed down here. So why are we using 2 different materials? We don't have to. We can combine all the mesh that is being called by both of these into one material. Okay, the katana is using sword 2, the cape, okay, outfit 1, that's different, that's a different texture. They have to have different materials. The socks is using outfit 1. The socks here are using outfit 1. The arm accessories is using outfit 2. The shoes back to outfit 1. The skirt, outfit 1. The top is using outfit 2, so the shoes, or the tops can be combined with the arms. And the skirt, shoes, and socks can all be combined into one material. And the cape. So there we can limit the number of materials being called. So how do we go about doing this? Well, first off, we're going to put our model into front-on view. We're going to split our screen here a little bit. We're going to call up the image editor. And we're going to split this screen here. No, wrong screen. Push that one back. We're going to split this screen. Narrow this one down a little bit. And down here we're going to load the property panel. Here we're going to use the materials tab on this particular one. And on this one we're going to use the texture tab. Okay, so now we have a full view of what our materials are. We have a full view of what the materials do. And basically, we can work from here. I'm just going to pop that up there like that so that we're nice and neat. There we go. And the first thing I'm going to do is come up here and I'm going to, like I say, I've got my model all combined into one model. And I'm going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to deselect everything. Probably pull this over a little bit so that we can see a little bit better. Reduce the size of my texture. And I'm just going to start walking through it. I'm going to select the nails. And I'm going to click on select. Okay, that is going to select the nails on the model and bring them into the UVs into the image editor. Okay, I can have a quick look here. I'm seeing that it's using body 00 as the texture. I can see that there is no transparency on this one. There's no transparency on the sheet. So let's select the next one and press select. Again, it's using body 00. There's no transparencies. There's no change other than maybe the fact that it is using a Toon 4 shader where the nails is still using a Toon 4 shader. There's no difference between these two items. Now, why the authors split them out like this, I have no idea. So let's move on to the neck. The neck is using the body 000 or 00 ping file as a texture. I'm going to select it. There's no transparencies here. There's a little bit of an overlap there, but that doesn't really matter. So I see that there's no change in here. There's no change in here. The mapping elements haven't changed. And basically all this mesh item could be combined into one material. So to do that, I'm going to put my cursor over the texture, press A a couple of times so that all the mesh is selected. I'm going to select the body material and I'm going to click assign. I'm going to deselect it. Now I'm going to select the nails, and if I click on select, nothing is going to light up. If I click on neck and press select, nothing is going to light up. These are now unused materials. If I click on body and press on select, all that stuff that is using this one texture is lit up, and this is the material that it's going to use. I can now change the name of the material to what I want to call my VMT, and in this case, body is perfect because it's the body part of the actual model. Okay, so let's move on to the face. Unselect everything, move on to the face. This is using face 00, walk down through them. This one is using face. It's a different material, or it's a different texture. So what we might want to do is leave face 00 alone and click on the next one, go to the next one, and we see that that's using face. Number 3 is using face. Get up here. Number 4 is using face. Number 5 is using face. Nothing in here is changing. Number 6 is using face. Number 7 is using face. 8, 9, 10. Oh, 10 is using face C. 9, yeah. So this one here we're going to have to leave alone. For now, anyway. So we're just going to change that. And I think it was face 1, was it? No, face 0. I'm going to change that name to B. Excuse me. Just so that there's something different about it. And then the cheek is using face again. Okay, so now we have to walk through the materials and see what is actually being pulled in, whether or not there's a change in transparencies or that kind of thing, and just have a look. Okay, so face 0, 0, we're going to leave alone because it's using a different texture. Face 0, 1, select. And what we find is we have the backside of the eye. Face 0, 2, select. And we find that we now have the eyebrows, and there's no transparency in there. Select. Okay, this one here, there's a little bit of transparency in here. I think we're going to leave this one alone. So we're going to give this another letter and deselect it. 4, select. We're getting some more eye stuff, I think. And nothing with transparency in it. 5, select. Now we're getting into this little expression eye, and we have transparency in that. So that one is going to be a different material as well. Deselect that. Select 6. Deselect it. Okay, it's up here in the eyebrow. Select. There's no transparency in there. I think that was part up here. Yes, it was. And there is no transparency in there. Select. Part of the upper eye. No transparency in that. Select. Deselect. I think that was the tongue and the teeth. Select. And basically what we've got is a whole bunch of stuff there with no transparency. Face 10. Select. That is this little heart shape for the eye and the actual main eye. What we're going to do is we are going to leave that one alone for now and deselect it. And then for the there's also this here. Okay, that's good. Deselect. And now the cheek, and we're going to find that the cheek is using some transparency. Deselect. And nothing else for the face. So to begin with, what we're going to do is we're going to walk down through here. Anything that we didn't throw a letter on, we're going to select. 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 Select, select, select. And these two are different. Okay. Tab on to the image editor. Make sure everything's highlighted. Come back up here to face 01 and assign. So now that just wiped out the other ones that were in there. Okay, and so what we're going to do now is we're going to deselect this, and now we're going to have a look at the transparencies. Select. Well, there's no transparency in there, but it's using a different texture. If I change this texture to the one that's being used by the other one, how badly does that change? Didn't change a thing. Okay, so there's no transparency here. I can now put this in with that. All assign. Okay, so now it's using the face ping. Okay. All 3, select. Okay, we said we had a little bit of transparency in here. Select, a little bit of transparency in there. Select, a little bit of transparency in here. These two items here don't have any transparency with them. So what we should do, if we can do this, okay, what we want is to get rid of this. That wasn't supposed to happen. Control Z. Okay, can't do it this way. Okay, let's go back here. Select. That brings that back here. C. Highlight this stuff. Like that. Like that. And send that. Well, and there's this stuff down here. We'll get that in a sec. Sign. Deselect that. Come down here to 10 again. Select. Notice how the eye doesn't come back. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to find this. C. Z. And what that is something that's hidden in, oh, it's a glimmer in the eye. How about that? Now that heart thing is back here in behind. These are very hard to separate out. So what we're going to do is we're just going to leave those. No, we can't, because one's translucent, the other one isn't. So what we need to do is we need to try and pick up on the stars. No one said modeling was easy. And come back up here, face 1, assign, all, back down here, face 10, select. That should leave us only with this heart area that is like got transparency in it. D, select, C, select, B, select, nothing selected, and the other thing was the cheek. So all these items have transparency in them. What we want to do is we want to assign these to the same material because they're all using the same texture. So let's just pull it, we'll throw it into cheek for now. Make sure everything is selected. In the image editor, click assign and click deselect. If I select it now, everything there was now located in the cheek, and we know that the cheek has a transparency in it. So basically, let's find out what we're left with. So B, select. No, let's get rid of the selection first. B, select. 1, this is going to bring in all the non-transparent stuff. Deselect that. 2, shouldn't bring in anything. And you can tell how many vertices are selected by looking up here. Select, 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 still nothing being selected. Select, 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 and the cheek, this will bring in all our transparency stuff. Deselect that. Okay, now what do we got? Let's do the hair. Hair, select. Okay, now when you find that you have mesh that sits on top of the UV map like this, this is fine, because in actual fact what is happening with this particular material, if we come in here to here, if we come down here, where is it now? Tiles. No. Repeat. This is what the texture actually looks like in the real world. It just goes on forever. It tiles, okay? So this entire area is exactly the same as this entire area down here. Let's turn off the repeat. Okay? So this is actually picking up this. If we wanted to, and we knew the size of the actual texture, we could come in here, select everything, and we could grab it on the Y and move it down minus 1024. Too much. It's a 512 texture. Grab Y minus 512, and that will put it onto the texture where it actually belongs. Okay, let's have a look at hair 1. Select. Again, same thing. Using the same hair. It's not using anything other. Everything else is all the same. Let's do the same thing here. Turn off that selection. I'm going to grab this stuff now. And I'm going to grab it on the Y minus 512. That'll put it down here into the actual texture. And I can actually now select both. Select. Make sure they're all selected, and turn that to hair font and assign. So now I've gotten rid of quite a few textures, or materials rather. Panties uses the panty material, and it's the only one that does. The top, now it's time to do the top. Select. Again, here we are with this sitting down below the texture map. All. Grab Y plus 512. That'll put it up on the texture. And I'm going to select this. Nothing else changed. It's still using the same texture. Select. Deselect this one. All. Grab Y. 512. That'll put that up there on the map. Deselect that one. And the other one was the arms. Select. Grab everything here. Grab Y. 512. I'll put everything up on the map. I can go back through and I can grab these three. Select. Select. And select. Make sure they're all selected and assign it to the top. Skirt uses outfit 1. All. Select. Okay. All. Grab Y. 512. Puts it up on the sheet. Shoes. I'm going to deselect the skirt first. Select. Deselect. Shoes. Select. All. Grab Y. 512. Deselect. not the arms, the socks. Select. And I may as well grab this one too. Select. Grab Y512 to bring it back up onto the sheet. And the cape. Deselect. Select. Using the same material. All. Grab Y512. And basically now I can go through and I can select the skirt, the shoes, the socks, and the cape. Make sure they're all selected and give them to the skirt, assign, and just change the name here to clothes. I think I screwed that one up, didn't I? Deselect? Nope, we're good. Okay, so, and then that leaves us with the katana, and the katana is using its own texture, so we're good there. Now that I've got these all reassigned, I have to get rid of the materials that are not being used. If I don't, like I said before, if I don't get rid of the materials that aren't being used, they're still going to write themselves onto the model when we export the model for to be compiled. And when we go to compile it, it's going to error out saying that we still have 37 materials. So now we have to get rid of these materials that we didn't use. Okay, so there's two ways of doing that. We can either walk through the model again, select. If nothing shows up, we can rename it to unused. Select, deselect, select, unused. It's going to add a 0.001 to it. That's fine. And just walk through and rename these all unused. And as you use the word unused, it's just going to add a prefix to it. Once you're done with that, you go back into object mode, because the only way you can delete materials is when you're in object mode. You select the unused material, hit the minus sign. Now there's a plugin that is usable in Blender, and I'm not sure if it's turned on by default, but what it is a material clean slots plugin. Okay, if you click this down arrow, you should see clean slots here. If you come over here and click on clean slots, what it's going to do is it's going to remove any material slot that is not being used. Okay, so now I am down from 37 materials to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And when I export my model now, I'm only using 8 materials, and it will compile. I won't get that over 32 materials error anymore. So that's walking through the materials and combining materials in a nutshell. Hopefully this has been informative and gets you on the way to building your models. And if you have any questions, just ask them in the comments. I try to reply to everything that I get. With that, I'm going to say Private Jack out.